Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious. Join Carissa and Jenny, ordinary people exploring all the extraordinary ways we can connect to the universe. Each week, they investigate another spiritual modality and adventure through all the wild ways we can find high vibes, hope, and ultimately, enlightenment. Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious.
Welcome to our first ever episode of So Guided. Today we are going to discuss signs from the universe. This is the topic that started it all, got us so curious. We're going to share all the info, all the research. You've got questions, so do we. Let's do this. So what we're doing today is sharing what those signs are so that we can all be open to receiving them and hearing them and understanding what the universe might be trying to say. Because that's one of the things that Jenny and I noticed. We're new to this journey as it is. But one of the first things that we felt was like this pull or this presence that the universe was really trying to tell us something or remind us that there was more. And the more we started sharing with each other, like what these signs that we were getting, the more that we got into the state of belief. And it really got us super excited and enthusiastic. And we wanted to know more. And so today we're going to share the research that we've done to find those signs so that we can all be more aware of how the universe is trying to communicate with us.
Absolutely. So you've gone and given us a list.
Yep.
We're going to go through it one at a time. And our goal is that we see even versions of signs we didn't experience before, and maybe you will too. It truly is that you're guided. That was our favorite thing to learn is we felt like hustlers in the world and like we had to get things done and we're kind of alone and like it was up to us to accomplish things. And all at once we realized we really have support and we're being guided. So this list is awesome. And I'm hoping that by hearing some of these, you feel guided too.
Yeah.
So let's dig in. What's the first
one on this list is angel numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So angel numbers, don't get caught up in the name, but that's what they're called, is basically a series of repeating numbers or just numbers that you see in a meaningful way, like a 12-12 or a 10-10 or 1-2-3-4. We know, I feel like a lot of people are aware of 11-11. That's something that, you know, even growing up or even now, I'll see 11-11 and you automatically look at the clock. You're like, make a wish.
Mm-hmm.
So there's which is, you know, part of the magic. So angel numbers are basically numbers that you notice and that come up. And what's neat about this and what this article was sharing is that numbers are actually a vibration.
Oh.
So when you see an angel number, there's a vibration to it, and that's something that you're noticing, so that when you see these, like the universe is talking to you
In code?
in code. Exactly, in code. And what I like to think is that you can look up what these angel numbers mean, and there's a vibration to each of the numbers. But a lot of times when you see them, it's something that like you can almost like have like a download or a know of like maybe at the moment like what it's trying to tell you.
That's right.
So I always love seeing numbers. You see a lot of repeating numbers?
All the time. 11-11 is the standout.
Yeah.
My birthday's 11-11. So that one's got quadruple meaning for me and I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the things about numbers is to look at them in various sources. So they're not just in one place, which is the clock. You think about the clock first, but they show up other places too, on license plates, on signs on the road, on email timestamps. There's a million different ways, but I actually just had one recently. And it was that I'm dealing with a client who is very difficult. And I tend to feel reactionary in an ego-driven way when I get an email. I feel very like, I need to get
anxiety,
that. And I got one of those emails on a day that I wasn't ready to handle it. And the timestamp of when it came in was a repeat number. And I knew instantly, okay, I'm not alone. So whenever I see an angel number, my first reaction is, I'm not alone.
I love that.
I'm being guided. The second thing I know is if I look this up, there's more meaning than just that.
Okay.
So I look up my number and it was literally, I'm not kidding you, that you are being guided through a tough situation and you're not alone in it. And I instantly changed my demeanor to my response. And I thought, no, I got this. I got my angels behind me or my spirit team, and I'm going to respond with peace.
What number was it?
222.
Oh, it's awesome. I like that too, that you automatically knew it was a sign. And I think when we're talking about signs, that's something that comes up a lot. It's like you have to believe that it's more than just a coincidence that you saw that exactly when you were getting anxiety. And you did. You noticed it and you're like, yes.
Help
and
me.
you looked it up and you're like, whoa, I'm being guided. I'm with somebody right now. Like the universe is with me. It's reminding me it's not that big of a deal to move through it. And I think that is exactly how the universe is talking to us. And why noticing these numbers is so awesome.
Totally.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's a good one. All right, bring me to the next one.
The second one is synchronicity. So Jenny and I, even before we started recording, we're talking about this list. And synchronicity is one of those ones that is a little bit new to us, and not necessarily in what happens, but like what the word actually means. So we looked up the meaning, and it's a meaningful coincidence is technically synchronicity. So that's as opposed to something coincidental that happens and has no greater significance. So there's, I don't know, I think you had a good example of this one in your life, just because synchronicity, I think, happens more than we think. It was hard for me to put into words what that sounded like or looked like.
Totally. I think what we started to talk about was synchronicity is when many things, I think it also equates to more than one thing. Just when things line up and there's a meaning behind them. And for me too, it kind of relates to timing maybe as well, that like it's a magical moment that it happens at just the right time. An example of this might be greater than a little example, but about the time when you and I started to, in all truthfulness, we were a little bit depressed on our own collectively and started asking questions about the world. And at that exact time, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a very long time who had a book that she just recommended out of the blue, which was a very weird coincidence. And then very unlike me, I put that book in my Amazon cart, ordered it. I read it. If you need to know the book, it was Universe Has Your Back from Gabby Bernstein. It cracked me wide open. A lot of the book was about signs and literally signs and believing in something more and all this stuff. And it was at a time I was asking for answers. And the same day I started reading the book, I kind of looked at the ethers in my room and I was like, is there something more? Should I be brave right now? And I literally asked that question. Later that day, I'm driving down one of those weird signs that says barbecue Tuesday or pancake Sunday. And for whatever reason, that sign that day said, be brave and let your light shine. And I had just asked that question. So there was a series of events and there was a flurry of other things around that just happened. And it was so strong and the synchronicity of it was so evident. I had to say, there is something more. And though my ego says no, I am being forced to say, I need to look at this.
Oh my God.
I think that's it,
no,
right?
Exactly. Well,
okay.
And so upon like researching it, one of the things that says for synchronicity is that somehow you're given information and the guidance makes perfect sense. So like that's exactly like, so you don't know how you get this information or why it falls in your lap, but you're like, wow, that's exactly what I asked for. It makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So that is like one of the synchronicity lessons that I just feel like that's exactly an example.
Good.
And what they said too about this is when the universe you have synchronicities, what the universe is trying to show you is that you're on the right path. And that the universe is happy to guide you. So like listen to those and keep flowing in the direction that you're going because these synchronicities are happening to show you that, yep, things are happening exactly as they're supposed to. The next one is losing, finding, breaking objects, malfunctioning objects. So things just coming into your world out of nowhere. And sometimes these things can be when you find something that's gone missing and it reminds you of somebody or something that can shed some light on a subject or make you like feel loved. Or when you break something, it may mean that you're like time to like let go of the past, or let go of this thing. So the universe could be telling you like, okay, enough is enough, let it go. So I love that one. And I feel like this one resonated with me because like Van always finds feathers. And so he finds feathers and he like brings them to me and he's always like, oh, our angels are leaving feathers. And he says that. And so I'm always like, oh my God, I feel like the universe is always reminding me and making me feel connected anytime he finds feathers.
Oh, that's
and
really
so
cute.
And I was like, and the fact that he says that uninhibited and like unprovoked, like, oh, the angels left feathers. I'm always like, oh, Yes, they did.
They are
And it's
here
such
for
a,
me right
it's
now.
such a good sign.
I love that. Well, what's funny is when you were saying this one, I'm like, oh, I can't think of this happening. But actually, something did happen to me recently with the malfunctioning. I had been kind of seeking out more freedom from technology, for the lack of a better term. And I feel like work is attacking me all hours of the day and night. Where like sometimes, gosh darn our tech world, where like someone could reach you at midnight and affect your sleep because I read the email I shouldn't have read on the work email. So one of my addictions of life is checking my work email before bed when I'm waiting at a traffic light or whatever. And it's making it so that outside of work hours, I'm thinking about it way too much. Anyway, I kind of was thinking to myself, how can I make this better on myself? About the same time, for whatever reason, my phone disconnected from my email.
Oh.
Like my password didn't work. And I tried to even re-enter my password. It wouldn't work. And by the way, same password works on my Apple computer, but it wasn't working on my phone. So do you know what? This happened like literally 5 months ago. I said, okay, I'm taking the sign. I have not had work email on my phone for this entire time.
Amazing.
And guess what? My business is still working. It still exists.
Yeah, you're still thriving.
And anyway, I took it as a sign.
It's divine intervention. It's 100% a sign.
And it's the best thing ever.
I love that.
I love it. I have to admit, it was really scary to go solo, not knowing, going out shopping for groceries, not knowing who's emailing me. But it's so peaceful. Anyway, thank you, universe. I'll take it.
That is, yeah. And I love it. And I love that you actually knew it was a sign or thought it was a sign when you felt it. And you felt like, you're like, you know what? This is happening for a reason.
Yep.
And that's the universe. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is dreams. Everybody, we all have dreams. Some of us remember them more vividly. They can be wild and crazy. And sometimes it's just, you think like, wow, that's the most bizarre dream. But the universe can be like sharing and giving you a message through your dreams. And what this list kind of reminded me or said is that you're the best person to interpret your dreams. So if it doesn't mean anything to you, or it does, it just seems like a crazy dream, it probably just was a crazy dream. But sometimes those dreams that resonate and that you continue to think about, maybe trying to give you a message, and if you kind of take a minute and think about it, maybe able to like decipher what that message is. And like no one's better to decipher it than you. Again, you can buy a dream book and look at the meaning of dreams, but this particular list, and I'm buying into this, said that you're more apt to know what it means than anything else. Like, so if you have like something like I liked that.
Give me an example. Well, first of all, I would ask you this. Are you a person that remembers your dreams?
Oh yeah, I'm a very, very vivid dreamer.
Well, I'd say with the dreams, the biggest thing to identify is because you could have bad dreams, you could have funky dreams, you can have whatever. For me, a dream pretty much fades within an hour of waking up. So the way I identify if this is something I'm supposed to look at again, if I visually and emotionally still feel a dream later in the day, I feel like that's the one to take notice of. Would you agree? Because I wake up and I'll be like, oh my God, oh no, did I just predict the future? I had the scariest dream and I'm feeling icky and it's gone later, right? And then conversely, something that you could have feels really potent and you later in the day, it's like a happy thing and it was meant to stick with you. I kind of feel like with dreams, because there are a million dreams that you could have, if it sticks with you, that's when you know.
Well, and I still
trusting yourself.
This grandma dream, I can still picture exactly. It's still vivid 3 years later. Like it's still that vivid. Where it feels more like a memory than a dream.
Wow, that's actually such a good point. It feels more like a memory than a dream. Yeah. I'm going to repeat that. Yeah. It feels more like a memory than a dream. That's such a good identifier. Yeah. Because often we can't even remember a visual. So if you could remember it, something to look into. Love it. One
tip, they said that if you're trying to get signs from the universe through dreams, you can just say a little ask to the universe prior and say, tonight I will remember any dreams with important messages for me.
Yep.
So you're asking more to remember those so they're not as fleeting. All right, the next way the universe speaks to us and sends us sign is through animals. So if there's certain animals that always pop up in your life, if there is an animal that comes at the strangest of times, if you see a random animal at something, it could be a message from the universe. And this one is very resounding to me. I have seen deer in my life at very important times. And one of them I saw after I had my baby. I came home and after Van was born, and there was a baby deer sleeping in my backyard, like literally a little baby deer sleeping in my backyard. I'd never even seen a deer laying down, and let alone like a baby deer laying. And I was like, oh my God, Van was so meant to be. It was such a sign. I knew at the time it was a sign. I'm like, this is such a sign. I'm like, oh my God, I took pictures of it. I have pictures of it. And then fast forward, because this one really does resonate with me. Fast forward, the next time I saw a deer laying down was a huge buck in my backyard. And it was about 2.5 years later. And we saw, it was during the day, and there's a huge buck with antlers laying down. Again, we took pictures of it.
Wait. Can I pause so we could tell our friends, you do not live in the woods. You live in a suburb.
We have woods in our backyard. So there's deer here and there. But no, there's not it's not, this is like a suburb of Boston. We're not in like Wyoming.
I just needed to clarify.
We're not like in no, totally fine. So again, the deer are like, it's exciting to see a deer walking, let alone laying. You know what I'm saying? Like, We're like, oh, a deer. So the next time I saw a deer laying down, like the only other time until recently, it was a big, huge buck with antlers. And we took pictures of it again because it was so stunning and so amazing. And then the flip side of the story of that night, Nick got a phone call that his father passed away. Ugh. Yeah, his dad was not like sick. Like he had actually had COVID, but we were not expecting him to pass away. It was an unexpected passing, and he had been in the hospital all day in that buck. And we're like, to this day, we're like, oh my God, your dad. And just like how Van came as like the baby deer to say hello, a big strong buck was laying in our backyard, and it was like, I mean, it is a
full goosebumps right now. By the way, full goosebumps.
Yeah,
that is one of those. I love how undeniable that story is, and quite frankly, too, even accentuating your point more is that a baby was there for the baby and a full grown for the full grown.
Yeah.
How cool. Now, did Nick take it as a sign too, I hope?
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
he does.
That's
and this
really
is,
cool.
again, and like he did. I mean, we to this day, like, and we love that we took pictures of it and we knew and now when we see deer, like we just, obviously it's very connected to our loved ones. We connected to the universe, and that's, a very specific, but like even on a lighter side, like my daughter loves owls. So when we see owl pictures, it seems like a sign. So there's a lot of ways the animals can come in.
For sure.
The next one on our list is words and phrases. So if you keep hearing the same word over and over again, you keep hearing different phrases that kind of stand out to you and are like, wait, I keep hearing this. Like that can be a sign from the universe.
One of the podcasts that I was listening to the other day was saying how you could like hear a phrase, bloom and let yourself grow where you're planted. It keeps repeating, and it means you're deciding on a move, and it's kind of giving you the advice to stay, and you're supposed to stay. Or likewise, you get be a wanderer. And so like the advice or phrases you're hearing could relate to a situation that you're just hearing on repeat, and it's the universe saying, here's my sign for you. So you hear, I love this.
I've heard that too, like where you're like, if someone's like, if you're like thinking about getting a new job and randomly everywhere you go, it's like, start fresh, get a new job. It's like in random like tidbits.
Exactly.
Like it
exactly.
resonates.
So that's what I think this one means.
Interesting.
But I think it could be even lighter as far as like following a guidance. So I have one, and I can't even give you the result of it yet. But I was just researching our family vacation for the year, and I'm all over the place. And I keep hearing about Costa Rica. If I'm being honest, it has not been on my radar for life, not even interested in it. It has come up, I'm not kidding you, like 10 different ways from people I know mentioning how much they love it, and it's like an amazing place and you feel special there, and like someone I like online, an influencer, is there right now and I keep seeing her magical journey, and repeat while I'm traveling. So I completely circumvented our original plan. I am planning our entire vacation to Costa Rica because I am following the guidance of why
I heard this word. It? Wow.
So I can't tell you how my trip's going to go, but if it's a sign,
sounds like
I think it was chosen for me. I can't wait. Anyway, 100%. I planned a trip based on it.
Because you heard Costa Rica so much.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yep. That's amazing. Well, that's a good example. I'm intrigued to see how other people have heard these words and kind of followed through. Yeah. I will say, I have just to add real quick, one of the things that I hear a lot, and it always makes me feel good, and I feel like it's a sign from the universe, is when the baby that I lost, I named her Ruby. And I hear Ruby all the time, just randomly.
Yes.
Like I hear people will pick one random gem and say Ruby. And so that stands out as a name. And I always think that's a sign from the universe. So I love that too. The next one, along the same vein, is song, music, lyrics, and just hearing things through song and music. So sometimes we ask a question and then the song plays and answers the question, or it just reaffirms something that you're trying to uncover. The universe speaks to us in many, many ways, and that's technology and songs is one of them. This was funny. I was actually on my way to your house the other day, and I was really stressed. I feel like I had a lot on my plate. I had a lot of work and all sorts of things. There's just so many things going on in the world right now. layoffs and people just being things. So I had a lot of work on my mind. And the song, which I've never even heard before because I'm not a big country person, Everything Is Gonna Be All Right came on. And it's by like David Lee Murphy and Kenny Chesney apparently, because I had to Shazam it. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, it was such like I had so much anxiety for some reason just heading over. And then I heard the song and I was like, this is such a sign.
Right.
And I loved it.
Oh, I love that.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just clean and simple. If you think a song is giving you what you needed at that moment, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Right? It's sweet.
The next one is unexpected meetings. So running into somebody that you're not expecting to, one of those like kind of, again, seems more than a coincidence, a meeting.
Right. Well, just to follow up, my first example of synchronicity is that this was a chance meeting with the friend that I only see like once a year, who told me about the book that set us off on this entire journey that leads us to this moment today. And that was just truly an unexpected meeting that brought me a gift that was the book that brought me a new thought process on the world.
Well, I take it one step further.
Yeah.
Our meeting was unexpected.
Our meeting. Oh,
so
wow.
the way that Jenny and I met is basically I was running late for a dance class. Both of our daughters were in dance, and I actually never take my child. It was my mom or my nanny at the time was taking it, and I was out of work one random day. It was never something I had taken her to. Someone else was always doing drop off and take off, and I was running late. And I come in like a whirling dervish, like trying to get, I had both my twins together, and it was nuts. And I was like we were late. Every place was busy. It was crazy. And I come in and just kind of didn't even know what was going on. My daughter wanted to dance late, and I'm sitting there. Jenny and another woman were sitting there like talking. And this woman literally who's talking to Jenny gets up and is like, I think you two need to sit next to each other.
That's right.
And
which is weird, by the way.
so weird. So and I'm like, what? And I looked at Jenny and I was like, huh. And I looked at her and I was like, and I sat next to her, and come to find out she had twins. She had just moved to the area from California. I had just moved to the area from Chicago. So we were both like new to the area. We both had twins.
Both outsiders.
We were both outsiders. We both looked like we didn't belong. I was like, it was like, we definitely stood out, which maybe why the lady didn't want to talk to us. But long story short, it was such an unexpected meeting. And I feel like it is 100% the universe put us together.
Totally.
Like because I don't know how else we would have taken a long time to meet. In this town, it's hard to meet people. Totally. So it was one of those things that the universe put us there at the exact same time. So
I love it.
I love that one. The next one is repetitive experience, aka déjà vu, which I feel like we've all said, oh, déjà vu, and like noticed it, but thinking it could be a sign from the universe is cool. And you are a big déjà vu person.
Oh my God, I'm so into déjà vu. It's one of my favorites. I feel it all the time. And I think that's one of those things. Some people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I get that all the time, or you really don't. I think people are one way or the other. But I've had déjà vu a lot. I just had, an everyday one when I was playing board games with my family. And I just had that moment of familiarity where I'm like, okay, I've been in this moment before, and Oliver's going to say blah, blah, blah next. And then he said blah, blah, blah.
Wow. That's a very intense stage. I don't know what people are going to say.
So I will say this. My side note is, and we have to, we always have to do this disclaimer, is I tend to have a little bit of a weirder experience with déjà vu.
Yeah,
There's something else going on with me in déjà vu, and we haven't put our finger on it yet. But for that, so my son has it all the time. It's a lot related to Oliver. Oliver gets it daily. Every day.
They say kids get it more.
Oh, okay.
They do say
That's
kids
crazy.
get it more, and they can't pinpoint why, but apparently it could be a past lives thing. It could be because they're more connected, they're more open, but children for some reason are more apt to get déjà vu.
I like to think on a light level when the déjà vus are happening, it just feels like I'm in the right place at the right time. If it's like fitting me like comfortable jeans that moment, it's like, oh, I was supposed to be right here. So in my family moment, I felt that. But I will say, I have to tell you, the other déjà vu that I think happens a lot is based on a place. So like, for example, when I went to Paris for the first time, I had déjà vu over and over and over again. Later, I went back to thinking, like in retrospect, it made me feel like, did I have a past life here? But at the time, it just felt like I'm supposed to be in Paris. And additionally, do I have a familiarity for more than just that reason, which left a question mark. But I feel like deja vu could be elicited by a place too.
I love that. And I like that. I like the meaning of that. Like, why do we get deja vu? The universe is trying to tell us we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Like,
Yes.
I like that. I like it as a reassurance.
Yes.
The next one is unusual/new words. So again, we kind of talked about this a little bit in the other one, but this is different in that it's a word you may not know the meaning to, or it randomly sticks out. And it could be drawing you towards a path. Like, one of the ones that has happened, again, more recently for me is Akashic. I had never heard of Akashic or Akashic records. And then somebody said it and it started coming up all the time. And I'm like, all right, I guess we have to research this. I guess,
Yes.
and we're going to research it for our podcast, and we're going to do before and after and figure it out. But like, it is something that's been, I didn't even know what it meant. I had never heard of the word. And then I heard it 30 times in a few weeks. So, and it's a really random word to hear.
That I've never heard it in my life. Till
Right.
You said it to me.
Right.
Right. I'm so into that. And what's really funny is with the deciding of all the fun things we're going to do in the future before and after, I find this keeps happening. One of the things I never heard of, one of yours that you're drawn to right now is Akashic. The one I keep hearing is astrocartography. Which I'm actually really proud of myself that I just remembered the word and how to
I've never heard that word before. This is the first. And if I start hearing that word, I will. But I've never heard that in my life.
Mark my words. It's going to be a future investigation as well. And this keeps happening. I've never heard it in my life. I've heard it 5 times this week.
Well, and I want to say, I can't wait to hear that word, but I want to say that in this world of technology, I feel like we often say a word and then it comes up on Facebook and it comes up on Instagram because they are listening to what we're saying. But I think it's beyond that. I feel like, I haven't seen it's not like all of a sudden I'm getting like ads searching me about Akashic or people saying like, I hear it in random like TV shows or like it'll come up, someone said it, brought it up who I never would think would be spiritual. And so it's just a really like, I think we have to think of it, you kind of know when it's a sign or think it's a sign versus it's just creepy technology listening.
That's interesting. Totally.
The next one on our list is gut feelings / intuition. So Jenny, why don't you talk to us a little bit about this one? Because I know this is close to your heart.
I would say this one is more of a knowing coming from your head or your heart. It's a feeling in your mind that is telling you something to do. So I just had the example happen to me in real life where I was driving to my parents' house with the kids in the car. We have the same route we go every time. And I had a knowing. It was almost like a voice in my head, go a different way. I went a different way.
Yep.
And when I came home that night, there had been an accident. We went back our normal route home. There had been an accident while I was at my parents' for just an hour. So I just had this feeling that was exactly why I went the other way. I was either going to be in the accident or we were going to be delayed and stuck and couldn't get through the road. Whatever it was, I had a knowing. That was an intuitive hit. A download. It's on something you're hearing from the universe that you're like, I have to follow this now. And you can't explain why, but you have to follow it.
Okay, I have a question. As you're saying that, I'm thinking of one that I wouldn't have put towards intuition, but part of me is telling me it might have been a sign from the universe. When I was first starting my first job, I was starting the same day with some guy who I didn't know who it was. And I remember thinking, is this going to be the guy I'm going to marry? Like the day before, I'm like, oh, I hope this guy's cool. I was single at the time. I was young. I'm like, I hope this guy's cool. I'm like, maybe he's the guy I'm going to marry. Like, I hope he is. And then I ended up starting the next day and it wasn't love at first sight. I was like, oh, it's not the guy I'm going to marry. Fast forward, I did end up marrying that guy and he is my husband to this day. But I wonder if that was like a universe, like intuition thing that like, as much as like, I didn't know, like it was like this weird gut feeling that the guy I'm going to meet tomorrow is going to be the guy I marry. And I remember thinking it the night before. I'm like, wow. And I've told Nick the story. I'm like, yeah, I was hoping that, this guy would be the guy I marry. And it became a friendship first.
Right,
so,
for a long time.
Yeah. And then we end up getting married. But I feel like that is
1,000,000,000%.
1,000,000,000%. And when I never put as a sign from the universe.
You never
like
till this minute?
Yeah, no, not till right now when you said that. I'm like 1,000,000%. That was like intuition of just knowing that like I was on the right path and that was going to be my future husband without even knowing it.
This is why you were kind of laughing and I feel like you didn't like this one on the list as much. This is my favorite one of all because it kind of puts a little bit of control in your hands. It's you getting a download.
Yeah.
And we get them all the time. I wonder how many people have had exactly like what you did and you just pass pass it off as a random funny thought. No. You're more powerful than you think. You had an intuitive hit the night before you met your future husband.
Right, exactly.
And I bet it happens to everyone all the time, and we pass it off. And honestly, this gets me excited because this is the whole point of this for me, is so that open our eyes to things that we wouldn't normally say. Like, how many times you have the random thoughts? Guess what? It's so cool. It's because you're supported, and also you're in tune too, by the way.
I love it so much. Well, it's so funny because I've told that story a million times, but never put it through the lens of like, oh, that was my intuition. Like, I was telling you, it's not some random thing that I said. It was like literally my intuition. It was a download. Oh, I love that. Okay, that's,
yay.
I'm into it. I love intuition. I just didn't see how that was the universe.
It's a download.
And it's a download. I love it. Okay. The next one on our list is physical symptoms. So goosebumps, upset stomach, heart racing. Like, those are all things that, can give your body a litmus test of like a yes or no that the universe is trying to tell you something at the moment. So I feel like sometimes Jenny will tell me a story. I'm like, oh my God, I have goosebumps because it's so good and I'm so into it. And then kind of the flip side of that, like you could have something where it's like, oh, I have I'm getting like a pit in my stomach.
Totally.
And it's because something bad could be happening.
Right.
So, and like, or someone's giving you a bad vibe. Like, trust those vibes that you get. If like you're around somebody and all of a sudden you feel icky when you're near them or negativity, that's the universe trying to tell you like, that's not someone maybe you want to be around or to get out of the situation. So to kind of trust those vibes.
Absolutely. It's almost the other one we were saying. It's the download that goes a step further that gives you a physical symptom.
Yes.
And that's its expression. So like if your stomach hurts and you're next to a new person you're meeting, ooh, that is something to reevaluate. Maybe that's not someone I want to pursue and as a friend. I love that one.
And I think that one can get a little bit tricky because sometimes it could be like anxiety. Like when someone makes you nervous or you have like you get like nervous in your stomach, or heart racing could be like an anxiety feeling. So this particular thing said if you can't differentiate whether it's like a sign or just like your ego kind of making like being anxiety, ask the universe for a stronger sign.
Oh,
and it will tend to deliver. So like, don't be afraid to just like be like, even like you can ask it in your head, but like, is this anxiety or is this a sign from the universe? And answer, and it'll answer through one of the other signs or through that sign.
I love it. And then step it up a notch, right?
Yeah, the next one is so cool. I love this one. Fast and furious manifestation. So good luck really quickly. So it's like when you're going somewhere and all of a sudden you get a parking spot and then the thing you're going to sort of buy is on sale. And then there's like a huge line when you walk in, but when you go to check out, there's nobody there. And it's like all this stuff and you're just like super in the flow and things are just like going your way. I love this one. And I feel like you notice it, you're like, oh, it's good luck, or oh, this is great. Yes. But like you don't realize like that's a sign from the universe supporting you.
Yeah.
And I think
you're just on the right way.
One thing to do when that does happen, and now you're noticing it as a sign, is to just thank the universe and show gratitude. And as the more you're grateful for it, it'll happen more.
Totally.
According to this list.
Totally.
Which I like.
According to Google.
According to Google. And I buy it though. I do. I think the more it happens, and again, the more we're cognizant of this stuff, the more like you appreciate and show and like see the signs, the more you get them.
I know.
It's just like anything, you know? It's a snowball effect. So.
I love this. Manifestations is another favored subject. There's a billion. It's an avalanche of favorite subjects. But for manifesting, for me, you're just in a flow and you are. Like just things are going right. And I think that they happen on a really small scale, like the day you're talking about where the parking spot, the sale item, the line. And then there are ones that are like huge and bigger and they're more like life journey manifestations. And I think they happen in both ways. But I feel like manifestation is when you're smoothly traveling a path and you're going with the current and you feel that you're flowing with the current versus fighting back. Like, let's just say you're maybe wanting to take a job that's the wrong job and everything's kind of sticky and you're getting caught on the rocks. A manifestation is like when it's flowing and you're running with it. This is wild and it's from my past life story, but one thing that had happened to me as far as a major life manifestation, if I'm honest, is I had a wedding planning business in California for years, a decade. And I started to feel in my head that I wanted something else. I decided, probably a download from the universe, that I love the design part of my business most of all. And I had actually had some clients asked me to design their homes because I was designing their weddings. So I put out to the universe basically the question, like, should I be pursuing this? And about a week later, San Diego Magazine called me and asked if they could feature my house and my house decorated at Christmas in their magazine, which is wild because I'm a wedding planner and designer, not an interior decorator at the time. And I said yes. And obviously it related to the design of my home interior-wise, which felt like a huge sign. The day that it published, I got a call from a stranger who saw me in that magazine and asked me to design their house, which was my first real true official client. And I had some imagery from them. And the way that it worked was everything in relationship to this idea happened so crazy quick and smooth. I was in the river flowing with this, and it blew up. And as you know, this business blew up so much quicker and rose so much quicker than my other one that it took a decade to build. And I was just in the flow. So manifestations happen, like we said, on a light level, but on a big level, if things are going really well around an idea you're pursuing, pursue the itchy out of it. Like, just keep going with it.
Well, and I love that they can be big or small. Like, I love how it's like you can be, but it's like fast and furious regardless. Like,
totally.
And I actually like what you said before is sometimes when you're doing something and it's sticky and it's like the opposite, that's also a sign.
Yes.
Like, if something is too hard, it's not meant to be. And the universe is trying to like, it's the opposite of manifestation. It's trying to like halt you from it. So that's cool. I like that. And I think the universe uses all the ways it can.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? From sight and sound and feel and vision and circumstance to technology. I mean, the universe is so much more creative to get the message across. And I think we have to just like be aware of that.
Wow, that's really cool what you just said, because really this list is hitting all angles that it could get you.
Yeah,
and probably the idea is we all are going to be drawn to one or the other, or recognize one or the other. Like something like you and I were both appalled by the scent one on the list. Someone else who has a strong sense of smell is like, oh my gosh, I have that all the time.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Okay, I love that. I love it.
Okay, the next one, and we're getting close to the end, is unexpected solutions, gifts, delays, complications. So again, kind of like what we said about the manifestation, it could be the opposite, where you're like things are going slow, or you just get something that kind of falls in your lap. I have an actually really good one, a work story in relation to this, which is funny because you just told a work story. When I was living in Chicago, I'm originally from the East Coast. And so we'd always known we'd got to come back to the East Coast, but we were living in Chicago and we had moved there for work and our jobs were going well. I was always open to moving to Boston. And I had told the head of our company that the company was expanding. I said, when you guys put a director in the Northeast, like in Boston, that's the job I want. So I'll stay in Chicago until you expand in that area. And so I was, happy doing my thing, 6 months pregnant with twins. And the head of the company called and said, hey, we're expanding. We're going to put a director in Boston. Do you want to interview for it? It wasn't like a guarantee. No. He's like, but do you want to interview for it? He called me on like a Tuesday. He's like, let me know by the end of the week if you're interested, because we'll fly you to New York and interview with the people there. And so, and again, I was 6 months pregnant with twins. So I'm talking to my husband and we're like, you know what? It's so much right now. We're happy where we are. Like, it just seems like a lot, it's like a job I've always wanted, but is now the right time to move. Like being 6 months pregnant, like our families were on the East Coast. So it would have been like, we want to get back to family, but it seemed like too much of a move. So basically I call him. I'm going to call him on a Friday and let him know, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I'm not interested at this time. It's just too much. So I call and he doesn't answer the phone. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave that in a message. No. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So I'm like, so I'd say, hey, wanted to talk to you about interviewing for the position. Call me back. He doesn't call me that day. The weekend goes by, and over the course of the weekend, me and my husband continue to discuss it. And we're like, you know what? I probably won't get it anyway. There's a lot of people interviewing for it. Maybe I'll just interview for it. And then they'll feel obligated to give me a raise here because they're not promoting the pregnant girl. I'm like, maybe it made sense just to interview. Changed our mind. And then called, Monday and ended up saying I would interview for it. And, fast forward, I ended up getting the job. And even with that, I was like, well, if they're not going to give me enough money, maybe we'll stay. Nope, give me a lot of money. Gave me the right amount of money. It was one of those things where if he had picked up the phone, my life would be completely different. Wow. It'd be completely different. It went in an entirely different direction because he delayed. He didn't answer the phone. And I always think about that. And then the funniest part is that we were renting someone's condo in Chicago, and we had a beautiful view of the river, and it was awesome. It was right downtown, and we lived there for 4 years. And about like a week after I had gotten the job and they'd given me the job offer and I was still thinking about, they decided they were going to sell the condo that we were renting.
Gosh.
So I'm like, oh my God, it was like further
Amazing.
like universe sign, like, oh, you're meant to go. Like you don't have a place to live. If we had stayed, we wouldn't have had a place to live. We would have been moving anyway. So it was
the universe ejected you.
Yeah, the universe totally like protected me. But yeah, so very long story, but this is one that so resonates. And again, to this day, I tell that story all the time of if one of those points in time that like the universe, I feel like supported me and said, nope, you need to go. Like you think you don't want this, but you're doing it.
I love that. You needed that one weekend for your life to be changed.
I needed him to not answer the phone.
Thank you, dude. For golfing or being in a meeting or whatever you're doing. Thank you.
So that is the last official one on the list. But one of the things we've added and we think is probably one of the most important and one of the ones that we do all the time is asking for a sign. So it can be anything. Like it can be anything that you want. It can be just in general to remind you that the universe is there. It could be around a certain situation. And basically what we do and all you really need to do is just close your eyes, get grounded for a minute and think to yourself what pops in your head. It could be a weird image. It could be a random image, but just ask the universe to like send you a specific sign and it usually delivers. And if it doesn't, there's probably a reason because it's like you're not meant to be doing whatever you're doing. But the asking for a sign is kind of the last one on the list that we think is so fun and so important. And we do like the sign game.
We do it all the time. This was, like I said, this is why we even like the list is because we play this game and it's fun. And it's like, all right, I'm going to play with you, universe. I'm going to play back. I'm going to say, so for me, one of my animals that's weirdly popped up that I love out of nowhere, is my spirit animal, if you will, is an egret. And so when I've started asking for them, and right now is winter time, so they've all migrated south, so I'm not going to see an egret. So I actually like asking for it now more than ever. And the cool thing about asking for signs that's important is it doesn't always come in the form you think.
Oh, yeah.
So like, let's just pretend I asked for an egret. Likely I'm not going to see one outside on the harbor right now, but I might find it in a book, or my kids might be watching a cartoon and
you can hear
the main character.
Or you can see the word egret.
Or you see the word egret. So look for it in many shapes and forms. It might not be in the physical thing that you think it's going to come in.
Right.
But anyway, we love asking for signs. It could be light. It could be heavy. It could be an inanimate object. It could be a spirit animal. It could be whatever you want. But it's so fun. And I think we have to say, because you mentioned that's so important, is when you're not getting the sign too, which could feel frustrating, is often a sign of like, did I ask the question right? Or should I... There's a reason I'm not getting it.
Right.
And one of my perfect examples of that is I asked for owls in relationship for signs of the house. When I was looking for my next house and living in a rental, I kept asking for an owl. And I actually wanted to buy the rental I lived in, as you know. So I'd ask all the time, send me an owl so I know this is the house we should be buying and putting an offer in. And we were in the woods, living in the woods. My family members heard owls and I had no owls. It was driving me bonkers. And it's hilarious because in retrospect, a lot of things went bad with that house, that property. The owner was actually sued due to a driveway situation. Yeah. And my dream house ended up coming down the pike months later. I was not getting my owl, not because the universe was being a dick. The universe was like, nope, I'm not giving you that owl because there's something better out there.
Right, because that is the sign. The sign is that you're not getting it.
So just the important thing is, you might get that sign. Yeah. And if you don't too, that's also, there is a language we could have where we're getting answers.
Right. And I think one of the things too, which we always had fun, is like, it's fun to validate your signs, because I think what happens is like we'll get a sign that's so clear and then we'll be like, wait, is that really a sign? Am I making this up? And I think that happens to us a lot where we're looking for that signier sign where it's you could have gotten like that egret, but like, but is that really it? Yes. And so I think one of the things that Jenny and I have done for each other since we've kind of started this together is shared each other's signs, been able to validate them, not even for each other, but sometimes saying them out loud. You're like, wow, this cannot be a coincidence. I think our signs have only gotten stronger. Some of the signs we've gotten have been so ridiculous. One time I asked for a sign of a rainbow turtle. And like kids' cartoon, there was randomly like a turtle in the background was a rainbow on a sail. It was so in our face. And like, again, when I'm sharing the story for Jenny, she's like, no way. It's like insane. Like you can get so specific in just different things that happen. It's always good if you have a friend to share it or just like kind of say it out loud or just continue to think about it. When you get a sign, you're like, whoa, is that a sign? The answer is yes. Because the second your body knows it and you feel excited and you're like, oh my God, yes. And you may a couple minutes later feel like, oh, I'm making it up. And that's okay. Like we're all human and we tend to do that. Right. But that first initial gut reaction is the sign. And so be aware of all of these things that we've shared today. Ask for them, look for them, realize them. Think about what resonates more with you and like what sticks with you. And we challenge everyone to ask for signs and be aware. And we're going to try to help and keep ourselves honest and keep ourselves in the belief state. And we'll share each week a sign that came to us. Our challenge, I'm going to challenge both of us, is to do the same thing. We're going to ask for those signs and we're going to share like what we're getting. We should do like a name or something so we can we should come up with something that's like a weekly something, like a
weekly woo-woo.
Yeah, like something like week. Okay, all right. We'll do a weekly woo-woo to like share something that's like a sign or something to show that we're guided, because I know we're all guided and we are here.
If I'm honest, it's never real till I tell you anyway. So
well, that like I know because even
every week
and as guided as connected we're supposed to be, and hopefully this will help everyone. Then everyone can share their weekly woo-woos with us too, and we'll start like in the future. And so anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this and got some information and looked at the messaging we're getting in a different way and realizes that the universe is with us and guiding us in a lot of different ways, and just to be open and to trust.
I love that.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You can follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.